things that suck. Amy Wagoner is our presenter today, and I've known Amy for a while, worked with her as a co-worker, I told her I'd be happy to introduce her, but I was afraid that of all of her credentials and amazing accomplishments, I would leave something out, so I'm going to let Amy introduce herself.
Well, thank you, Terry. It wasn't actually that I have accomplishments, it's that Terry does know me fairly well, and I was afraid of what she might say. So I appreciate you sticking with us for this last session. I'm hoping that you're here because you want to discuss things that suck in education, and it's not just for the freebies that come right after this, right? The little drawings. I'm assuming that's probably what's keeping some people around. But I do an awful lot of work with the Common Core standards and with leadership, and one of the things that we've talked about a lot lately is the strands of English language arts, the literacy piece, and one of those is the speaking and listening strand in English language arts. And that piece is a part that we often don't engage our kids in because we don't want to give them, we don't want to give them something that's hard to, grade, because it takes more of our time to grade it. But we need to make sure we're engaging them in discussions. And so this is one idea of something we can do, and I think that when we're in our classrooms, we may change it from something other than things that suck. So I think somebody said that they used it in their classroom, and they said that it was things that are, whatever the word is, like, I remember there was at one point PHAT, things that were fat were really cool, and things that were rad or whatever. So you could change it to whatever it works for in your classroom. But the way that this works is that I will announce a topic, and when I announce the topic, this is going to be interactive, so don't get too comfortable. You can bring your ice cream with you, but you're going to hop up, and we're going to decide whether the topic, whether it sucks, and the suckometer is going to start over here. So like here's the suckometer right here, and so this side over here is, I could live with it. Right here in the middle of the room, if you're in the back, it gets a little worse, and this is like, oh, this is just like freaking sucks over here, okay? So over here, this is really bad. So that's your suckometer. So I'll announce the thing. What we're going to do is you're going to be asked to go in the room where you feel you think you stand on that. You'll have a couple of seconds to kind of talk with the people that join you, and then we're going to have some discussions about whether or not we really do think that sucks and why. Some people see this as therapy. If you just want to vent, it's all good. It's what's said in this room stays in this room. So the first one, we'll do 5 minutes for each one. And the first one we have today is homework. So the topic is homework. We want to know whether you think homework is still good in the classroom. That's a valuable thing. I could take it or leave it. I could see we could need some changes, or we need to be doing something totally different. That's not working. That just sucks. Okay? So you may vote with your bodies. All right. If you want to chat with the folks that are with you, you can go ahead and chat for a few minutes, and then we're going to ask everybody to share out, and we'll see if anybody wants to change groups based on what they hear. So go ahead, and I'll give you just about a minute to discuss among yourselves, and you guys come up with why you think you are where you're at on the vote.
You have to put everything in the classroom. Okay, there's some that they're going to do outside the classroom. Sometimes I make sure, especially students that like to have that choke over there. But we're talking homework today. Paper, pencil, roads. There is some it's going to go homework to
I definitely.
addition, subtraction, that kind of stuff. Right.
I need to put that on it, like, I do art, so when we do assign homework, we supplement to what we're doing in class, and I think it's unrealistic to expect no homework, because even in the adult world, everyone's got some kind of stuff they have to do at home.
Good to see you.
Unless, of course, you're working at.
The topic is homework.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
My program wouldn't be anywhere.
If you're going to be good at something, you better
It's appropriate, that it's not going to take forever, and it's going to be something that
lunch, so we're talking about civil rights.
Some kind of confidence that they can accomplish.
Okay, finish your conversations in 20 seconds. We're going to share back out here.
You have 20 seconds. 20 seconds. I'll come from the side of parent when kids come home from work. And so I have no clue like what they're supposed to do or even how to help them. And it's very frustrating. It's like, because I go from both sides, teacher and parent.
Okay, and time. We're going to hear from this group over here first. They think homework just rocks, right? Homework is really going well. I'm going to stand over here with you so you can be captured on camera. So we are going to turn here and we're going to see what you guys think here about homework. Why is it that you say on the succometer, it's okay, it's still over here? Where are you at with that?
Well, I'm going to say from my perspective as a music teacher, I have to assign the practicing or, you know, they don't learn to enjoy it. I don't build my program, you know, it's little things like that that just can't be accomplished in 45 minutes during class.
Okay, so there is a need for it in some circumstances. Okay, others?
I think we said that homework has had to change with the times, and it has to be appropriate, not overwhelming. They have to have enough confidence that they can do that, but it gives time for them to actually practice on their own without someone helping them.
Okay.
Yeah, and it kind of forces them. It's kind of like when your kid leaves for college, you've taught them all this, you send them out on their own. Well, you're kind of doing that every night, and it gets them away from that help.
So reinforcing what you want them to be able to do on their own. Okay, final thoughts?
As long as it's not busy work.
Not busy work,
Right.
okay? Ooh, I'm really close to that camera. All right, we're gonna come over here, and you guys can live with homework, but maybe tweak it a little bit, so I'm gonna stand over here so we can hear you and see on the camera. Where are you at with this?
Pick somebody else, I'm sucking it in, the camera's
And always present.
I like that answer.
I think,
What are your thoughts?
I think we weren't too far off from what they said, because we thought there's a role for homework. I think one of the comments we heard was, as long as it's not just fill in the blank, just rote, busy work type work was kind of consensus. Concern was brought up there at the end of our discussion about homework being the differentiation between passing and not passing. She's a counselor, and she said she sees students that are struggling with it. The only reason they're struggling with it is because they don't get that home. It's not that they don't understand the content, but it's that they're not getting the work done that the teachers expect them to get done.
If they can demonstrate mastery without doing homework, why would that cause them to fail a class? And I hadn't thought about the music aspect. I mean, that totally makes sense, but if your kids somehow were magically gifted and could do it without practicing,
And I have some of those.
you know, and like you said, the proof is the bottom line, what they know and they're able to do. If they could play the notes and play the song and you know, be proficient, you're good with that.
But if I require
And I
something
think
to do, I
too
have to
many
require
times it's busy
more.
work, and too many times we're subject to peer pressure too, and you know, I would hear things like, well, of course the kids love your class, they hardly ever have homework in your class. I make mine do, by golly, 25 minutes every night. Whatever.
And the sad part is you don't know what they're going home to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You don't know what they're going home to. You might go home to a house that they're sitting down and they're all working around one table as a whole group and family, and they're doing it great. And you might go home to a kid that's responsible for making sure all 3 or 4 of their brothers and sisters have food on the table. They might have an after-school job. They have to do the laundry. They have to do all these other things. And the kid, by the time he's ready to do homework, it's 11 o'clock at night, and they want to go to bed because they got to get up at 5 to start getting everybody ready.
Yeah.
So I think we're really, in general, we're a mastery type situation. Kids
looking
can
at-
demonstrate
Looking at
the
mastery.
skill and demonstrate the skill and the knowledge.
Well, because, you know, I think we all recognize that learning takes place outside the classroom, and there are some things that you can't do in the classroom that the students have to do on their own. You know, Dave talked about, you know, ask your parents about this, or go to a museum, or you know, go to this public meeting or something like that. So there shouldn't be an expectation that you can't ever ask kids to do something outside the classroom. But I think we have to look at what the purpose is of our homework.
Okay. Thank you. We're going to come on over here because we want to be able to. Completely sucks.
Dark side of the
Completely
moon.
sucks. So,
Well,
what do you?
I teach 6th through 12th grade alternative school ED, emotional disorder children. For them to send home stuff to practice, as soon as they practice it wrong, that's what they're gonna understand, so then the next day, they get so frustrated with you redoing it with them. I don't believe in sending homework home. I also don't grade practice. I give them feedback. I don't grade practice, because the first time we learn something, we're gonna make mistakes. And those mistakes then become where they get stuck a lot of times, because they've continually made mistakes, and haven't had a lot of success. I grade successes, but then again, I look at mastery of the skill. Because too often, homework has become a responsibility issue and not a issue of did they actually pick up what they needed to know. So, a little, yeah, that's kind of where I stand.
Okay, very good.
Can I say a one?
You can.
Homework, as a parent, and I know probably most of us have kids, but as a parent of a child who brings homework home, sometimes not, depends. Sometimes that homework is so outside, and I'm a teach, so outside my realm of even understanding, I can't even begin to help them.
Right.
Or they'll come home and say, I gotta fill out this sheet, you gotta help me answer these questions, I need to talk to you. And you've worked like 500 hours and you're just like, no more, please. So I think, like you said, you can't assume, even if they have parental support, that the parents can have the energy or the time or the knowledge to even
pull it off.
To even go there.
I would go over on her side on occasion when the elementary teachers would send it home. I don't want to pick on element, but some will send it home as homework for me to do.
Yes.
As a
I
parent.
said that, remember?
Are you freaking kidding me?
My kindergartner.
I'm not going to do 3 pages of homework
Right.
to send back to my kid. I'm not doing it.
Yep.
I didn't.
Yeah, when my son was in junior high, to help them get their homework and stay on task and all of those things, they bought planners for all of the kids, and parents are supposed to sign the planner every week saying, my son or daughter has completed their homework and all this stuff, and one night he came to me and said, sign my planner. I'm like, I'm making supper, I'll do it later. Well, he lost points because I never got around to signing his planner. I said, give it here, and I signed it for the rest of the year. I said, your job is to never let your teacher look ahead in your planner.
Yeah. Okay, next topic, thank you. We're not gonna necessarily change minds, but it's food for thought so we can go back and make some better decisions. Our next topic is, I feel like I should have a drum roll, but I don't have one. All right, drum roll. She's got that app.
Must be a bad teacher.
I'll go ahead and say this one, you can have the drum roll up for the next one, how about that? Next topic is internet filters. Internet filters.
Wait,
are you okay with
For
it?
teachers or students?
At school. Internet filters at school. And so that could be part of the discussion. Oh, we have some strong feelings here.
Not alone.
I'll go to that side.
What was
Nobody
the
will go there.
definition again? What was all that?
Internet filters at school.
Oh, like firewall kind of stuff?
Either way.
Oh, easy. I'm an administrator.
This is the in-between?
This is the in-betweens. Okay.
I'm with the in-between.
I will give you a couple of, about 30 seconds to discuss, and then we'll go ahead and share out what we think.
I'm like the dark side now.
Are you on your own?
You get to talk to yourself this time.
So low. So low, nobody can hear me.
No, this is
That sucks. This is.
so internet filters suck. I love it, I can live with it.
Oh, I don't love it.
Well,
I could live with it.
I understand the purpose of it. Oh, absolutely.
There you go.
That's where I'm at.
In my opinion, we're going to teach kids.
All right, thanks.
Yeah.
We've got to teach them how to use no matter where they're at on the job, so we can't.
And he's also.
Because otherwise we're going to get there.
Registrar.
Not going to know what to do with.
The kids are anyway, so for him, it already has their back door. Check with, and filters, when we get just, we got our computers, they're like, guys are like, home with it every night, starting. But so slowly I'd say, okay, but I need to have access, so these are my national filters. And so what they bring. So the problem is, so we have, we don't buy it, so I think you have to turn your phones in, clear policies that are fairly enforced and extremely enforced. And you make one or two examples of those cases, and, they have to complete an assignment in an alternative way without their laptop.
copies, when they have to go to the library, and they have to look that stuff up, and they have to write it on the paper and pencil. You do get that message out there, and I think it will take some time, but it will decrease over time, where it's almost overexposed. Yeah, I think they have to be able to find blocking access.
Okay, we're gonna come back together. We're gonna start over here with internet filters.
With no firewall.
Make sure the camera's for us. We're gonna start over here, and you have decided internet filters are okay? Okay, and why? Why do you?
I think they're a necessary evil because I think the law states there has to be a reasonable attempt by a school district to filter objectionable content. I think the easiest and most direct way to show as a school district that you're making a reasonable attempt is to have some type of filter. And so until that law changes, I think filters are the most logical step in meeting that law.
Okay, very good, very well said. You can patch stuff on the back. I will too.
Oh!
All right. Right here, you guys think you could probably live with it, but you maybe aren't like, completely against or completely for. So what do y'all think?
I really think that for children and the students, that yes, we need those boundaries because in a school setting, they should not be allowed to go where they want. However, I've been in districts where the firewall is so crazily controlled for the teachers on top of the students that we've had to practically beg to get resources available to us to teach our classes. And I wonder how much of that is an IT issue or a control issue or what?
I changed our whole thing around,
Yes.
and I layered it.
That's what
Because
I
it
was
used to be
saying.
that way. You layer it, you give the administration unrestricted so that when a kid's done something wrong, they can go anywhere. Then you give the teachers a secondary level, you ban like online gambling or something like that, pornography, pull that away. And then you give students high school group, junior high group,
And I
elementary
think
group, you
that's
can do all that
wonderful,
stuff.
but not all
And then-
districts go with that.
And we have somewhere where I'm at now that teachers can go in and override it, it's locked, you can type in their code and override that stuff. But I look at it this way, back in the 80s, if I brought a Playboy to school and they took it from me, I got punished, they didn't go in the library and take away all the magazines from the books. You leave it open. Now, I do agree in some filtering because of when you try to go do something as a group. For example, I'm doing state testing, but I got 47 kids over here on YouTube. Or I'm trying to do this. And I can hit hierarchy to where I give priority to state testing. But then I've got, say, Carolyn, when I was there, if Carolyn's wanting to do a Google Earth project, but right across the hallway, the kids are playing on YouTube. So instead, it was always, hey, I need YouTube for this class. Okay, I'm going to take your kids and I'm going to put them in another group and I'm going to open it up for YouTube. So initial filtering to allow me to then just quick email, send it out. And I never would say, you can't have it. It was always, you need it, you want it, let's go.
I mean, because YouTube I think a lot of times in schools, YouTube gets blocked, cut and dried, but there's so much on YouTube that actually is beneficial that it's hard to say, kids know YouTube's out there, they know what's on YouTube, they can find stuff better on YouTube than I can. And to tell them, no, sorry, you can't go look at YouTube, even though YouTube can tell you step by step how to, solve a math problem or.
It's an IT administrative thing, because I allow YouTube.
As long as it's not
As a principal, I allow it.
I was gonna say, teachers in our district, they have access to it.
I allow kids to use it if they're doing it for a project or something like
And
that.
I think that's
So
kind of where the.
it's just a little bit of a control.
Okay. Whether you're finished or not, I'm moving on. All right, you guys think internet filters suck? Why is that?
Well, tying up the YouTube thing, I think is kind of funny. Sometimes the administration forgets too what they had watched and whatnot. Is that we couldn't get YouTube, and then the superintendent sent out a video we were supposed to watch on YouTube. Like, yeah, we can't watch it. So of course we all had to wait until we got home to watch it. And so those are where those things pop up. But just the frustrations we're talking about, like chemistry having to do research and not being able to get it because of flammable, the word flammable. A lot of health things. Try to look at breast cancer. Can't go to that side. So there's a lot of things you just don't have access to. And there's a concern in the real world when they leave and having to learn how to control and self-control things you should and shouldn't do, and teaching them those kind of things, the appropriate way to use the internet, not.
What, you guys know what filters you're using in your district where you say it sucks? You know what filter? And the reason I ask, there's like K-12, there's SIPA, there's all kinds of, there's Sonic Wall.
But like on SIPA filter, it'll distinguish between chicken breast, breast cancer, and breast porno. And because it looks at the whole page and finds the extra words and says, no, this is dealing with cancer, it's okay, breast or cancer is fine. But chicken breast in a recipe, that's fine. Oh, breast and pornography and 3 X's, oh, that side's bad. But, so it depends on the filter, and I bought a good one that did that for ours.
Well, administrative was a major issue.
Yeah.
I mean, everything just gets shut down.
And a lot of that's because of the drugs, because you can get on and you can go on YouTube and see how meth in a pop bottle. So,
And do it at home, too, so.
yeah.
When I was teaching science, a kid brought home, he brought me a paper that had printed out, and he said, hey, can we do this? And it was how to make combustible checks. I was like, I don't really think we should probably do that.
What?
Combustible checks, Nick?
Combustible checks.
Serious?
Is that on
Like that. Once
I
you
really
hand
do
them
love
out
the
for a while,
idea
they,
though
like,
of, you don't take all the magazines out of the library.
Something
Right.
how you take.
But
You gotta teach self-control, you can't remove everything that might be harmful to a kid.
the IT we had before had it so strict, and then when I took it over, Jerry and I, we rigged everything out, but we were waiting for a new filter. And in our science class, they were wanting to do it, so I went down and I set up a hotspot and off the phone, and just had all the kids tie into my hotspot and then jump out of the network. I mean, they're doing it in lockers anyway, that hotspot locker.
Right.
I think the person that manages the filter and the way that it's set up, and what you're explaining sounds a lot better, but I know I would get so frustrated because I'd be like, oh, go look at this, or use this in your classroom, and her school was so tied down, they had such a tight grip on everything, you couldn't, I mean, it wasn't even reasonable to be able to use the internet,
Most IT do this.
so.
So researching something at home and having the site, and then going to school and not being able to get on the site. Yeah.
Yeah, that would help
And
a
the
lot.
kids get so frustrated when they're trying to access, you know, the resource that they need to complete a project, and it's blocked, and you can just see them shut down.
Bring your own device. You got your phone with you?
All right, I did a little salsa or something there, so I think that means we're supposed to move on. The next topic for us to discuss, decide whether you think this sucks or not. You have it? Okay, let me hear it. Drum roll, please. Thank you. Grades and report cards. Grades and report cards is the next topic. Grades and report cards. Some people are not even moving. They're just in a sucky mood. Okay.
This is, we need to have grades or they suck.
This is, I like grades. There's some things that need to be changed.
I'm mastery.
We need a new program over
I haven't
here.
been on
They
this
suck.
side.
And you know what, I'm gonna, for sake of time, because we've got a lot of people that want to talk, we're just gonna go ahead and visit about this, so I'm not gonna give any time to discuss in your groups. I'm gonna switch it up a little bit. You're flexible, right? So, we're gonna go ahead and start over here with the thoughts about grades and report cards. What are your thoughts? Do you have some strong thoughts?
Yes, I'm an approach from a parent, because I don't teach in a classroom, but just from a parent's point of view. My son, straight A student, doesn't have to study worth a lick. And so, but that only tells me what? That he can test well, memorize, and he's smart. And please the teacher, and do the worksheets, or whatever he has to do to get by. And my fear is, he's in middle school now, when he gets to somewhere, he's gonna hit his wall, and he's not, I'm like, you don't have any study habits, you're not gonna know how to study, because he can just absorb. So to me, it gives parents maybe an unrealistic viewpoint of how good, if you want to equate it with good, because it is kind of a good, bad kind of thing, how good your kid's doing in school or how bad your kid's doing in school, because it could be the opposite too. They could be getting really poor grades and be brilliant. They just...
It needs to be a whole paradigm shift for parents and teachers from we're looking at a grade to we're determining what they've learned.
Right.
And it's not anything about what they've learned. It's whether they turn the
Because
homework
the
in.
other child has to, she studies like crazy, but,
I say mastery. They come in and they, you gotta say you gotta have these 300 items to master algebra 1. The kid comes in and they know 275 of it. Teach them the next 25 and let them move on.
Yeah, but you have to be really careful about what you're identifying as mastery. I mean, I think it's all in the definition of what mastery means.
Sure.
And as long, if that's not consistent across the board, I don't know that grades have any meaning.
The problem is it won't be because of the mapping system that we have to use for kids reporting and everything else tied to funding.
Well, and we have trouble with consistency in our own classroom, making sure that a grade is a grade is a grade, and we know that there isn't any consistency between teachers, certainly not between schools. And so, you know, so much is tied to grades that we're limiting kids' opportunities, because they don't get scholarships because their high school grading scale is 94 to 100 is an A, and another school it's 90 to 100, so those kids have higher GPAs, so they get the scholarships. And you know, when we started public education to prepare a workforce for the industrial model, we were tasked with sorting and classifying. Please tell me we've moved beyond that.
Well, but higher ed is also an issue. I mean, it's a whole pre-K-16 issue. It's a systemic issue.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, because until higher ed
Because
changes.
they still want to see,
Sure.
what was your class rank? Yeah, I learned the most.
And I heard that there's like there's some schools that do like a no fail, like you can't fail out a kid, they can only get to it, they can't get anything lower than an F.
OTL type where they have to go back and they can retest.
Yeah, and they
testing,
pass on,
retesting.
they can't be held back.
Yeah, nobody gets an F, they might be
I mean, if
in
you've done
progress.
stuff.
I'm a believer in Marzano's rubrics. That we break down what they have to know, so the kids know right from the start, this is where it is, this is where you end, and this is how we're gonna get there. And then these are the steps to go through. Because in that way, the kids are engaged in their own grading, if you will, and engaged in their own learning. Whereas grading for a lot of people, as I was going through high school, it seemed like, and working with other teachers as a special ed teacher is so subjective that, you know, well, we had 25 problems to do, and they got the first 10 right. Well, if you're doing math, the first 10 are the ones that were prerequisites to get the concept, and if they didn't get the last 10 right, then they really didn't learn the concept.
Right.
Because the problems got harder as you went down. So what did they know? 10 out of 25 is what? Is it the first 10, the last 10, the middle 10?
Yeah.
Right.
Where are we at?
Yeah. Very good. All right. You guys can kind of live with it. What are you thinking over here?
It's a thermometer. You have to have some way to see how your body's working. And so I feel like it's not the grade that's the issue. It's our perception of the grade and what we put on it. But I feel like kids need to have some way to check themselves. And it's just like a formative assessment thing. And it's a number that we put on it. You can call it whatever you want to, but I feel like you have to have something that measures up. You know, as a parent on the other side of the spectrum, you know, my son is a very smart kid who never really had a challenge, and now he's a little bit, you know, lazy, I guess. You know, he doesn't get all ones like I know he's very capable of, but that tells me as a parent, there's something going on here that maybe we should discuss, you know. I know you're capable of more, I'd like to see you pull that out, but, you know, I feel like we put a difference. It's a perspective that people put on it. I don't know that that's something that's fixable, but I feel
It's
as a
common
student,
language that you can communicate.
So I feel like if we're going to change it, what's going to end up is we do this mastery, and we're going to have another common language, but it's really all going to be back to a grade, a percentage of what you've mastered. So I don't know what the solution is, but
Well, we tried several years ago to get away from letter grades. And all we heard from parents was, so what does this mean? Is it an A, a B, a C, a D, an F? Where are they at? It ended up being so frustrating that for the most part, from third grade on up, we went back to letter grades because our parents were having a hard time understanding.
But
what
letter
we were
grades
trying to
also
say.
give a false sense of what your child
They wanted the
actually knows.
percentages too. They wanted percentages, but
What were the percentages up? Do they understand what the percentage meant?
Well, to me then, that means that there has to be communication between the teachers and the parents. I mean,
There should be anyway.
well, there should be,
Should be.
right. And so then that gives the opportunity to explain what the expectation is and what the grade is.
I think, like, I teach art, so when I grade, it's all about the expectations of the project that we have. And a lot of people are like, well, how can you fail art? Well, you can fail art by not doing what I asked you to do, not finishing project. It's not about, oh my God, you're Picasso. It's, did you do what I asked you to do? Did you try the best that you could? And I grade on a rubric. And that's how I grade all of my stuff, is rubrics and checklists. Did they put so many, yeah, I mean, and that's what I have to do, because art is subjective. So, I mean, we have to have some kind of measurement.
And there's lots of things that come into play, not just grades, like, you know, because we're talking about a grade, it could be partial behavior, could be partial mastery, but it is for us too. I mean, when I'm evaluated as a teacher, I could be excellent in the classroom, but if my behavior totally stinks, that's part of my evaluation. I mean, and justifiably so. So there are, I mean, in the real world, again, there are different things that come into play other than just my skill or my talent.
On your differentiated evaluation, you're then given ways to correct that behavior or to continue this behavior. And in a sense, what we do with grades is, this is just an all-out, one-out thing.
Well, which is not a grades issue, it's a system issue and a teacher issue. Which fix that, it's not the grades. It's not down to grades. But we need to fix the system and the people in it, not the grades. Grades is the evil.
Big problem is when an administrator comes out and says you don't have enough grades in your grade book, put more in.
Right.
Which leads to the homework. I don't do that.
Which is a leadership issue.
It is, yeah. It's an administrative thing.
It all goes back to
You must have.
I think it's a great thing for every student. Leadership by.
Everybody.
All right. Lots of great ideas. Hopefully we're planting some seeds, maybe planting some seeds for some difficult conversations we need to have back in our home schools. The next topic is cell phones in the classroom. Cell phones in the classroom. How do you feel about those? I'm good with it. This is it sucks, and this is, there's some things I'm concerned about.
I'm not alone. No, you're not.
All right.
I'll be happy to tell you you're wrong, Carolyn.
Okay, I just forgot we did this section.
My kid.
We don't like.
Your kid was the problem with cell phones in my room. They're so good.
I'm gonna start right here in the middle ground, and I wanna, I'm sorry, I forgot to get the drum. I apologize, you got it all up, but I didn't get the drum roll up. Okay, so right here in the middle, you guys are, what are your concerns, or what makes you not go to one side or the other about cell phones in the classroom?
Oh, I mean, again, it's not the cell phone that's the problem. It's teaching them how to use it. It's the argument where it's not guns kill people, people with guns kill people. It's not cell phones that cause kids to get distracted. It's the people with the cell phone that cause them to get distracted.
And the classroom management.
And the management of the classroom. And so,
Yeah, she just came out.
to say the cell phone's the evil, I don't agree with that. And I think I can't go to this side. But at the same time, there has to be management issues taken care of before we can have cell phones in the classroom. That's why I'm here today.
Okay, other thoughts?
I know with me, in certain areas, the older kids obviously, and I do have grade school kids with them, and it blows my mind, but I think that's a little young. But sometimes when I'm outside with my marching band, for example, and I'm over here and so-and-so falls down. And that kid had that phone, she could quickly call in and say, hey, I need help, that kind of thing, or time, or even, hey, look up this song for me, that kind of a thing, if we're listening and I'm busy working with one section and I can tell this kid, hey, why don't you look up a listening example for this particular piece we're playing, so that the kids can hear it, and then I plug it into the speaker and go. Little stuff, and then allow them to use it for music, or if I am working on a sectional one day, and I have a kid who wants to listen to his MP3 player, go ahead, no big deal. It keeps them busy and it keeps them listening. So, I mean, as long as that's what they're doing, but I know they're abused. I mean, everywhere you go, you're gonna have abuse. And we have parents calling their kids in the middle of class.
Exactly. And they
You
get
know,
mad when they
it's
don't
like-
answer.
And they're the ones who sign that little paper. We will not allow our students to use during school. You know, and we have guidelines, you know, for the kids that they must stay in their pockets unless the teacher allows them to pull them out to use them for classroom activities. And that's just that kind of thing. But the kids always ask, hey, can I listen to the MP3 player? Hey, can I do this? Okay, just let it go.
So sometimes they can be good. I heard of a principal who, they were canceling school because of weather, and there was a no cell phone policy at the school. Nobody could have cell phones. Principal went into the classroom and said, if you have your cell phones, get them out, because it's gonna be hard to get this message out to parents. Almost every kid pulls out a cell phone, and he says, nobody's in trouble. I'm thinking, that's kind of the way it works in some ways. We have the policy there, we know that everybody has them in their hands, and we'll ask them to use them when they have them, but we're gonna pretend that we don't see them, you know, unless we really wanna make a problem with it. Okay, you guys think cell phones in the classroom suck. Why?
I have a fifth grade class. I don't think fifth graders need their cell phones in the classroom. Now, they're probably, and most likely, in their lockers. If a situation arises like that, and they want to ask to use it, you know. But I just don't want them in the room because I don't want to hassle with it. I don't want to have to wonder, okay, do they have it? Do they not have it? Okay? So, I just assume they leave them in their locker and use them if the opportunity comes up. On the other hand, I have my cell phone with me at all times because there have been situations where I have been out of recess and needed to call into the office. And that there was a situation this last school year. So I know it's kind of a double-edged thing there, you know, what's okay for me or not okay for them. And Kirkendall's probably going to tell you that my daughters were the worst ones because they didn't follow rules very well.
I've taught K through 12 art, and I don't think they need their cell phones on them 24/7. As far as getting a hold of them in an emergency, the buildings have phones. I have had an experience where a child got into a screaming match with his parent in the middle of my classroom. And I had to tell him to hang up the phone. He's like, but it's my dad. You are screaming in my classroom. He was screaming back. Hang up the phone.
That's when you call the principal.
And yeah, no, I had to because, I mean, the parents were calling and it was getting in an argument. And at the same time, I was teaching photography, so these kids were in there with their, and this is old school photography. You can't have light in the dark room. So as far as that, no, I don't think they need it. I'm not a parent. But I don't think you have to know or talk to your child every 15 minutes. I grew up okay. My parents were good.
You're at work.
But as far as the cell phone, you know, the MP3s in their ears, I want to be able to talk to my kids while they're working. I have music going on in my room. I don't want them to be a disconnected little pod. I want them to be in the classroom. And so that's why.
I think one of the biggest hits on YouTube, cell phone in the classroom, is of a teacher belling a kid in the head with an eraser.
Yeah.
Has anybody seen that? And so it's kind of interesting because we could find ourselves in some hot water based on the things that maybe are recorded in our classrooms. And, you know, doesn't make it. I'm going to come over here so we can get all the people that think cell phones in the classroom are awesome.
Mine is simple.
This is not
It's
following me.
unenforceable. As an administrator, I can't keep the cell phones out. So why pass a rule that I can't enforce? And I've got a teacher that uses phones. He's here today. They've got Androids, and he's having to make apps and stuff in class. It's a class, Android programming. So he uses it. With your daughters, my rule was simple. Put it on your desk. And if we have time and we have a moment, you can look at it. I had a girl come in one time. My sister's supposed to have a baby. Okay, well, put your phone out. When it rings, we'll know. Phone started vibrating, because I always tell them, put it on vibrate so it doesn't interrupt me. It vibrates, I go, just a minute. I finish what I had to say, and I go ahead and look. It's a little boy, it's whatever, whatever, whatever. I say, congratulations, now put it away, let's go. But why fight them? Because they can text with it in their hoodies, and they can do all this other, and I'm not going to strip search them. So since I can't keep it out, and I can't monitor it, well, I have a rule that I can't enforce.
And most of the time, I think the cell phones in the classroom are, it's a teacher issue, if there's a problem with it, you know, it's something we need to take care of. It's not the cell phones, it's the problem. Again, it's a teacher issue. Teacher, take care of your, your classroom, that's what you're there and getting paid for. And just like there, that student that, you know, the sister or whoever was having a baby, if you didn't let them do that, well, you think they really give a cred what you're talking about for the next hour? No, not if they're all they can think about is, I mean, I've had someone whose mother was having surgery. I mean, she's not going to be thinking about what I'm saying for that. I'm hoping that they get that text soon, so we can get that out of the way, you know, and it be done. So,
but I think a lot of it's the teacher, because Carolyn, you know me, if they screwed up, I was quick. I'd been more worried about them videotaping me because of that. But really, honestly, it's not a problem if you're up moving, you're doing it, and you have it.
Cyberbullying? I mean, we're seeing this whole rash of kids texting each other.
that's a
and
teacher issue.
bullying
Take
each
care of
other.
that.
Teacher management. Doesn't matter if it's on a phone. You can actually take an iPod with no cell service, just an iPod. And if you have Wi-Fi, they can turn it into a talkaphone. I mean, there's messaging, there's computers. There's 1,000 ways. No matter. When I was IT, I used to bring in bags of candy, and I'd say to my seniors, because I was also teaching history and government at the time, I put it on okay, I've got a problem with Facebook. We've got too many on it. Give you a piece of chocolate, you tell me how to get to Facebook. And they'd start telling me, and I'd start blocking it, and I'd give out candy. And I did it for 2 days, and they kept finding it. One kid went to German Facebook, translated it into Russian, back to Spanish, and then back to English to get around it. And then I realized, I can't stop Facebook. So instead, I can't stop it. So instead, forget Facebook. If I catch you on it, you're in trouble. Teachers be up moving around. And we,
That's a big key. Teachers be out moving.
but I think we had less problems when I started doing that in the 1 year I was there than when she had it before and she locked everything.
Well, I never understood why we say that, well, we want to prepare kids for the real world, and then we strip them of every connection to the real world when they come into our classroom. And schools say, oh, we don't have the money for technology, that's why we don't have tech-rich classrooms. You're taking a very powerful piece of technology out of their hands. And when you say that, well, they're disengaged and they're tuning out, I grew up without cell phones, and I can tell you there were many, many days I was disengaged and tuned out, just staring out the window or lost in my thoughts because of the things that were going on in the classroom were not engaging. We have to figure out how to be more engaging than those cell phones in the work that we plan for students to do.
And they're not us. They can multitask, whereas maybe we cannot.
I told him earlier, we're a bring your own device to school. So even though we bought iPads for the first time this year, we've had them in our building for 2 years now. Because the kids can come in, whatever device they have. I mean, they can bring in a Kindle, they can bring in a Nook, they can do whatever they want. I don't care, as long as you got a device and you can do what you need to do,
Well,
do it.
I think the other thing is, if you are a school that says absolutely no cell phones, the thing to do is, how much can I get away with my cell phone? What can I do before I get caught? How far can I push the limit before somebody stops me? Where if you have a school that, like my schools, we're kind of a gray area on the cell phones. They can have them in the hallways, they can have them at lunch and at their lockers, but not in the classrooms unless the teacher says. But it's okay, so the teacher says no cell phones, okay, I'm gonna push the limit. Then the cell phones get taken and the kids get mad, the teachers get mad. But if you have an understanding that they're gonna have cell phones, you can try as much as you want, they're gonna have cell phones. So how do we meet in the middle of, they're gonna have them, we need to somewhat control their usage. If you tell kids, yes, you can have your cell phones, the excitement of getting away with using your cell phone in class goes away because everybody can use their cell phone in class.
I don't think it's the possession of the cell phone. I think it's a respect issue and a usage issue. I mean, we need to teach our children that it's not okay to be on their cell phones all the time. I mean, as an adult in a job, I shouldn't be texting and on my phone when I'm supposed to be teaching kids.
And that's why they should be allowed to have them, and we teach them that.
If you're using it for.
That's the whole point, yeah.
Model it.
I teach them that it's okay to have it, you don't have to be looking at it constantly.
If you're using it as a school source, I think that's great.
Yeah. Okay, new topic. New topic is, thank you, Common Core standards. The Common Core standards, where do you feel?
Is there another point?
like-
I mean, I teach art, we don't have it, we have no concept of it.
Oh, you
Common
need
Core
it.
will-
I will tell you,
They're not telling us anything.
the literacy standards will be in every curriculum. So you might be thinking about that. Okay, so Common Core, are you Are you thinking, nope, I think that's a good thing, things are gonna go better because of it? I'm not quite sure, I'm kind of in the middle, or, you know what, this is just another thing and Common Core sucks. No opinion? I would say no opinion would be probably right down the middle, because maybe I need more information in order to have that. Does that work for you?
Yeah.
Okay.
No, the Common Core classroom is different, it's, you know, I don't know.
Right, right. We're gonna start over here with this group, because a lot of you went over here, and so I'm going to, wherever you're at, I am going to find you on the camera. So I'm gonna stand right here, and all of you are going to be on this camera. Actually, the camera's not working. It got confused. All right, so, what do we think about the Common Core? You guys, over here you're saying Common Core is a good thing. What are your thoughts?
Common Core is more real world, more application based, and I don't know, anything you can take with you and use is better.
Okay.
In the use of college and career, information is finally coming out, because our kids are leaving to go to college, think they know what career they want, and then their first year in college, they don't want that career after they've tried it, whereas Common Core is going to allow us to expand their knowledge of truly what's expected in that particular career, in my opinion.
Okay. Other thoughts here?
Everyone's expected pretty much the same. There's no, well, this is what this district expects, and this is what this district expects. Now this is what everybody is expecting.
But then you go back, and I'll play the advocate on that, is that our education system was set up for local controls. And when you do that, you're now taking away the local control. So it'll be interesting to see, even though we have Common Cores.
Common Core is not gonna be that everyone's gonna learn the same thing in every state, right?
You have the same standards.
So the idea is that all second graders will know a certain set of skills.
Right.
Right.
I think that's wonderful, because I have a friend who works up at Fort Riley Middle School, and the kids that come from all over are at such different levels all over the place that she said it is so difficult, because you never know where they're gonna be at.
I think too, coming from another state, it's nice to have, that's just more collective minds that are working on projects and things we can do in our classroom, and they're all toward the same standard. So it's not just people from Kansas I can benefit from, but it's people in all the states that have adopted Common Core.
It doesn't say you have to do it exactly the same way, it's just a common set of skills. You can get
Right.
there
Skill
by
sets.
many different ways.
And there's other things we can add to those skills, because we don't have to be limited by just those standards. Those are just the basic proficiencies that we say we're all gonna agree to.
It allows us, well, because of the work with the grant,
Uh-huh.
it allows us to go much deeper into fewer, instead of trying to teach to the whole book, or to teach to all of these things. It limits, not the right word, but it gives you fewer, and you're going deeper.
Right.
Breath. Yes.
Breath. You dip the kids long enough so it sticks.
Yes.
Rather than just dipping them every year and hoping that something kind of doesn't
Yeah,
slide
by
out.
the fifth year they've heard this, maybe it makes sense to them now.
Right. Okay. All right, we're gonna go to the Common Core sucks.
Mine's real simple.
Over here.
And he's got a great point on his. Mine is, it's another whitewash code. I mean, I remember back when we used to grade social studies by rubric, and it was local control, and if I had a 3 and you had a 5, oh, we'll give them a 4, let's move on. It was something we did.
We got that on tape, what you did.
I don't care.
We're gonna-
Barely graded with me too. But it is. And then we went to QPA because that wasn't working. Then we went to No Child Left Behind, and oh my God, it's almost 2014, everybody's gonna fail. Oh crap, we better come up with something quick. So let's throw out Common Core without knowing what the hell it is. Let's throw it out there. How's it gonna be assessed? You're an art teacher. How are you in art tied to the Common Core? Especially if under the waiver, 85% of your evaluation is going to be based on how you do on the assessment. So how's the band teacher going to get assessed? How's the shop teacher going to get assessed? If 85% of their evaluation, so band, okay, well in band you deal with fractions, quarter notes, half notes. All right, therefore you're tied to math. So if math fails, you get a bad evaluation.
You're tied to the practices. You're not tied to the content. You're tied to the practices. And the practices are attending to precision and help me, Amy.
It's a lot more than that though.
because I've been to the Common Core trainings on it. I mean, there's a lot more to it than just, there's a lot more than just that. When I went out to Hayes and they said, you gotta write a plan. You gotta write a plan, and what's your plan? And I said, State, what's your guidelines for a plan? They go, we don't know. Okay, how are we, we don't know. But we got this idea, this broad term, these broad ideas of something, but we're really not sure what we're going to do, but we got to get something in before 2014. And then your point is, and I agree wholeheartedly with it.
It's called a Common Core. Means to me that it's common to all students at that age. And I think, in particular to the math that I've heard, I don't think every student's ready to think abstractly on an algebraic level at the same time. And they're moving things down to the middle school that I don't think a lot of students are ready for until they're sophomores by the brain studies that show it. And so I think it's not common to all students at that age level, and I think it's misguided because of the force fit them into this track system.
We're taking Algebra 2 and putting in Algebra 1. Algebra 1 concepts and moving it down. And fraction is going to be with second graders. What about the kids that are in the gap?
What about child development?
Well, what about, to me, the kids in the gap that's supposed to, they just finished Algebra 1, they're getting ready to go to geometry, but we're going to take all Algebra 2 and put it in Algebra 1, and then they're ready for Algebra 2 next year, and that's more trig. They missed out. There's a gap there.
I'm going to say this, and then I'm going to be done. Okay?
That is not true. She's never done
Okay,
it.
that is so true. The way that we're, okay, and I say we're as me being part of that, so I'm not trying to be negative Nancy. That's Amy. But the way that we are instructing kids in classrooms now, you're absolutely right, we will fail. It is not about anything other than how we are instructing kids and facilitating their learning in a classroom. And as long as we keep doing it the way we've done it for the last 100 years, we will fail. But some teachers won't have to hardly make any shifts in what they're doing because they're doing it right. Some teachers are going to struggle, and some teachers are going to leave the profession.
Still think they're
and they
ignoring some
should.
of the childhood development issues.
But isn't
I
that
agree
true
with
of
you,
every
and I'm
program
all
that they
excited
shove
about
down
that.
on us? They never look at the teachers, they never look at kids, they just assume that they know what they're talking about, and then they say, oh, do it.
For 2 years, we've had lessons on how to sell it to your community, how to sell it to your board, how to sell it to your principals, how to sell it. And at what point did we say, hey, teachers, you know what, we're going to have to change on how we do it, on how we teach it, on how we work it. You know, it's got to be a whole school.
It is.
It's art, shop. You guys got to come on board because it can't just fall on, for me in my school, just 2 math teachers.
It's a systemic
Reading,
issue.
social studies, curriculum. And it's none of that. It's, well, we're going to do the Common Core, and here's what they are, and we're not going to have benchmarks, we're doing this, and we're doing... Quit selling it. Just show me how I can take a package or something, a guideline back to my math teacher and say, here, this will help you.
But it's not taking it just back to your math.
I understand. Oh, I completely agree. But I don't want to list everybody because I offended.
Well, I'm sorry. We'll find this out later.
It's going to be the
I'm
We're going to ask the middle row here, what are you all thinking? I know some of you said, wait a minute, I'm not quite sure if I have all, you know, I may not be teaching something I think is going to affect me, or I'm not sure if I have all the information to make a decision. So what are you guys thinking here?
I go both sides, because being a military family, I think it's important to have across the nation some type of standards, because when kids move, as they do every 3 years, from state to state, district to district, all of a sudden you're ahead, then the next state you're behind, and then you're, you know, if you got seniors that are trying to graduate, it creates a big, huge mess for the kids to try to keep all that together. But, you're right. It like all sounds great in theory, and then how it's actually applied and interpreted tends to not work out like they planned.
There are lots of programs that are great programs that are research-based that don't work, and it's all because of implementation.
Yeah, I agree. It's how it's
absolutely
how it's brought down and implemented and put out to the front lines. And I'm concerned about, you know, whatever happened to child development and brain development. Where did that go? Because you're right, you can't abstract think if you're in second grade.
I can buy it until you throw in that, well, we're going to do oration in some of the reading parts.
And if you're gonna do oration, is the state gonna send out a state rep for every school? Nope. They're gonna have to do it locally. And if we're doing it locally, what teacher, if you know 85% of your evaluations on your assessment, and you're grading them with a rubric in your room, what teacher's gonna say, no, my kids fail?
Yeah. It doesn't say, you said that they'll leave their profession, they won't. They'll figure out how to work around the system. That's the way it works with standards now.
But to me,
And state
that's
assessment.
another systemic and a leadership issue.
Well, you bet it is,
Because
that
you gotta
won't
get
make it
rid of
a
those
lead,
leaders
they'll
that are going to allow that to
play
happen.
the game.
The problem I run into is my school is an international boarding school. Half of my population comes from 15 different countries around the world. So when I've got to say that these 9th grade students from China are coming in are at the exact same level as my 9th grade students who've been speaking English for 15 years or whatever, I can't do it. And so, because most of my 9th grade students who come in from China or Korea, English-wise, they're on the same level as a 4th grader. And so I'm stuck, okay, I've got my American kids that, yeah, you know, they're pretty much all where they should be. Half of my student body does not speak English as a first language. And so that's why I'm kind of in the middle, because do I think it'd be nice to have, you know, some sort of common standards? Yes, but at the same time, I fall outside the box of what's common.
And if you compare year to year to year to year, and I have a class of 25, how do you compare this 25 with next year's 25, or the 25 after?
Yeah, I mean, it's
We don't know yet, because they haven't finalized all the,
apples and oranges.
how it's all gonna be shown out. I mean, on evaluation, we're still waiting to see how it's gonna be graded. You know?
But you're not, but, okay, but that doesn't have anything to do. If we're comparing the same groups to themselves year after year, that's different.
Okay, I'm
Which
gonna
that's
let the
the
two
point.
of you continue to talk. I want to thank you all for coming, and I hope, hopefully, you've got some seeds planted that you can go back and have some difficult conversations. Or you may think, oh, that was great therapy on a Friday, and I'm so glad I can do this.
That's what I'm thinking.
So thank you all. I think there's some drawings that are going on, so I appreciate you coming to the session.
I didn't have a ticket before.
A ticket?
Where are the drawings at?
They're gonna open up these walls, and it's all gonna be right in here.
Oh,
So.
just say. Like you're trying to shut it off.
I thought I turned this one off, but then it was